Honorable ladies and gentlemen, it's a great pleasure for me to be able to welcome and host you during this debate in the second day of European Agricultural Forum in Jasionka. We want to discuss today about competitiveness of Polish food management and economy regarding environmental challenges. Yesterday we discussed what common agricultural policy should look like, what are our goals, assumptions, what we want for this common agricultural policy to be bringing into our agricultural sector, but we also know that agriculture is there to produce food, and we are talking of agro-food sector. And this is the role of the Commission and our ministry. And today we would like to discuss whether our food economy is competitive. And we realize, and yesterday we discussed it, that value of Polish exports in agri-food sector was record-breaking last year at the level of 53.5 billion euros. And the question whether this growing trend can be maintained, what are the threats, and I would also like to congratulate all laureates of the competition for innovative farmer, because we know that this innovativeness is also a form of building competitiveness. So I would like to very kindly invite to our panel Mr. Miłosz Motyka, Undersecretary of State at the Ministry of Climate and Environment, Mr. Big Hand when our panelists are coming in. Very warm welcome, Mr. Minister. Let me invite Mr. Andrzej Gantner, Deputy President of the Board, DG of Polish Federation of Food Producers and Association of Employers. Let me invite Dr. Przemysław Rzodkiewicz. A very warm welcome to Mr. Przemysław Rzodkiewicz, today replacing Mr. Minister Siekierski, Head of Quality of Inspection of Food Agri-Products. Please take your seats. And let me invite Mr. Szymon Borucki, President of Polmlek Trading, President of the Board, Wiktor Szmulewicz, President of National Council of Agri-Chamber. Welcome. And Mr. Jacek Strzelecki, President of the Board of Polish Meat Association. Welcome, Mr. President. And we should be all complete here. Please kindly take your seats. And like yesterday, I would like you to join in the discussion like yesterday. And somewhere halfway in our debate, we will want also to hear your voices. Honorable ladies and gentlemen, Polish food economy, food management achieved a great success over the recent years. We can see how much has changed also in the state of Polish processing companies. In Western countries, many envy us having such a modern and so efficient food sector, and I would like to ask representatives of business right away. Let me start from Andrzej Gantner, and please give a 1 minute input so that in the first round we can say today what is the greatest strength and competitive edge of Polish food economy. Andrzej, most welcome. Yes, very warm welcome. What is the greatest strength of Polish food industry? People. That means farmers, entrepreneurs, because it's us together creating developing the food business, and this is our greatest strength. And for 20 years, practically, we have been developing this economy, how we are developing exports, how we are maintaining the internal market. It is also important because it's not difficult to develop exports and lose internal market. And this is thanks to people who every day produce agricultural raw materials, export, take care of quality, and take care of the quality to be both safe, good quality, and competitive. And these are those who create the success. Of course, it is also worth looking at it from pure business perspective. And, well, what to, no need to talk about so much. We developed thanks to entering European market. 80% is still exported into EU market. It is the best market and nearest to us, which is important and still attractive price-wise. But it is also worth noting that our development was based not only on vast investment and the efforts. Well, I'm just ending. So it was also based on the fact that we have had a competitive edge. We still have it. So quality versus good price. And we have made use of it, no question. Thank you very much. We will be digging deeper. So Szymon Borucki, president of Polmlek Trading, one of the largest, if not the largest company processing milk in Poland. Well, I do not agree with Andrzej at the very beginning because I believe that, of course, maybe this year we are still competing price-wise at global markets, but it is coming to an end gradually. And unfortunately, Polish economy, Polish food sector must find alternatives for itself. And in my opinion, such an alternative for our food sector is production of more specialist products which are tailor-made for specific clients. Time of production of simple commodities has ended. Today, Polish process specialists must be producing from good quality of products and possibly best specialist products which are difficult to be replaced in foreign markets. Thank you very much. Mr. Jacek Zarzecki represents the meat sector. We know that the value of exports in meat sector is over 10 billion euros. What in this sector is our greatest strength and, well, so is Strzelecki, not Zarzecki. Jacek, yes, but I like the other Jacek very much, but it's not my name. So it's worse to his names. Yes, Mr. Jacek Strzelecki. But regarding, let me put it like this. People, of course, this is the essence of everything, the beginning and end of everything. Point two. What Mr. President from Polmlek said, that it has to be tailor-made. Yes, regarding meat sector, it is so high quality, excellent price, and the skill to talk and negotiate in specific markets. And the fourth condition, well, tailoring products for specific market. So that's why we are number one in poultry, number 4 in pork, and number 6 in beef, period. Thank you very much. And now, well, Mr. Szmulewicz, who represents farmers, so those who are suppliers of raw materials for broadly understood food processing, and what is from farmers' perspective our greatest strength, and in the context of competitive edge. Strength are people, I do confirm it also, farmers, but I will not agree so much with what Mr. Moderator said at the very beginning, that yesterday we discussed what to do in future. Here I did not hear this idea, what is the future and what we must do. It was rather the wailing wall. There is a chance for us to catch up with it today. Yes, I think there is an opportunity today. In the past we were best in ski jumping, now we are not because others are better. So today, ahead of us, there are decisions what to do to be better. And I think that this discussion should go in such direction. Don't be happy that we have laurel leaves and success, because it passes. You have always to go ahead and think a few years in advance. And today we must make such a decision, otherwise we will lose. Today we won with farmers who, when entering the EU, all of them, everybody insisted that we can be the first to fail. The French, Germans, everybody are better than us. Family farms actually passed their exam in flying colors. We are the best. We produce the raw material, which is not worse than from the others. But today we have to do the homework regarding challenges the world puts forth to us. How to get ready for climate changes, environmental changes, Ukraine, Mercosur, the whole world. Later I will say more. And Mr. Minister Miłosz Motyka, thank you very much. I liked this similarity with ski jumping because practically we could transfer it one-to-one to the current situation. Do we have worse results as Poland, as a ski jumping team, because the rules are different, objects are different, and opponents are different, or because we have the sportsmen, the staff as it is, and per analogium to agriculture, environmental, regulatory environment, European and domestic kept changing. The environment related to programs of support again, but also the staffs appeared to be strength, not weakness, and it appeared that multi-generation farms could, thanks to their flexibility and determination, could get adapted to it. So if we make an opinion, we have succeeded in agri-food production. So first of all, thanks to flexibility and determination of Polish farmers, and then their pressure on for these regulatory changes to be introduced with common sense and together and not against them. So this, if I were to suggest something for the future, would be the greatest challenge to avoid the need to change regulations following protests, but simply not to lead to them. In a moment we will be discussing all that. Well, first of all, about environmental and climate changes. Yes, so Mr. Dr. Rzodkiewicz, so from Quality, Chief Inspector Rzodkiewicz represents quality. So what progress Polish food business did in the recent years, and are we in the first league? Well, quality of food products is at the top level, and we have the quality at such a level that we do not need to be ashamed of. But what is to be done is building that brand, so that Polish product to be appreciated by consumers in Europe and globally, to be recognized and chosen like brand products from Italy and France. And this is, in my opinion, what we have to work on for the brand of Polish food to be recognizable globally. A good example of such activities which are building the brand is the result of our presidency. The fruit, Polish apple from Grujec, which is a product of geographic importance. It is winning markets not only in Poland, but it is also exports hit in many Asian markets. It's recognizable in Europe, and based on high quality of Polish products which are successful, we should be building the brand also in other sectors and branches. Thank you very much. Honorable ladies and gentlemen, if today we are talking about the fact that 80% of our products go to the rich EU market, we must also remember that the state of both our farms and plants results from the fact that companies made use of EU funds in order to modernize this production. So can we today say that our processing plants are in good shape and well invested in, or whether we need to, and in which areas we need to invest to keep this competitiveness? And now, Mr. Jacek Strzelecki. Our agri-food sector, agro-business grew up. We are big and healthy. We can continue competing. We are active in a very intense and saturated market, which the EU is, and here we are unquestionable leaders. Let's say in meat, as I said, number 1 in poultry, number 4 in pork, and number 6 in beef. Here we are strong, but we are not totally present in global scale. I don't know if you realize, but a large Polish family company, Cedrop, is number 50 largest poultry company globally. Animex, owned by an American American company, and the owner of this one is a Chinese company, is number 47 globally. So we have the potential. And Mr. President, what is, I want to say what we miss. So in our position, we gained this position through quality and good price, and quick delivery, and what President of Polmlek said here, adapting to the needs of the client. It is potential client coming and saying, telling us what they need, not we sell them what we have. If they want to have this quality of pork and beef, they will get it, and this is what makes us specific. Our specific indicator is meat processed products. Well, globally, but Poland, we are specialists in production of sausages and whatever. So, although a number of slaughter plants dropped when we were entering the EU, plants which, with the time passing, dropped off. But now concentration in processing makes us not only able to process all the raw materials, but also to generate the surplus and export it to various markets. Yes, and as we have no problem with the EU, we can be selling more if there are possibilities. Mr. Minister Motyka mentioned, saying that administrative questions, let's ease those questions. Let us let people work, and you will see the result. And the second thing is, first of all, well, we have political diplomacy and we do not have economic diplomacy. So actually we have traces of economic diplomacy. We have three advisors for the whole world, and these are three individuals, not three centers. So if we want to conquer the world broadly, we have to invest in economic diplomacy to help us actually be into those markets outside the EU, so that we can exist there, because those markets are much more difficult than the EU. Well, thank you, Mr. Szymon Borucki. Mr. President, what helped you develop the company and at the same time implement such a big share of exports, being over 50% in many products? I think that in our case, Flywheel was launching in 2017, the largest factory making powder from whey, largest in Europe. And we started, today we produce 10,000 tons of this product, and this was our export hit, which we attacked markets outside Europe. And because WPC opened these markets for us, we could continue with other products, and today we are sending close to 2,000 tons month after month of cheese from Poland, and every month mainly to the Middle East and Southeastern Asia, and all from milk from Polish farmers, Polish suppliers. Exactly. And back to your first question regarding the machine depot. It seems that in our dairy sector, the machine depot is really up to date at top possible level, because for over 10 years, year after year, we note increased production of milk. So it shows the potential of Polish village and entrepreneurship of Polish farmers. Year on year, we are producing more milk. In many European countries, production is dropping, and here it is growing, yes. And following this, processing plants had to develop a machinery depot to allocate these orders. And from the perspective of developing milk processing, production of raw material, is it catching up, or are you those who need still more raw material? We still all the time need raw material, because number of people globally is increasing, and it will be increasing for the coming 40 years, and we have to feed the world. And here I can see a huge role of Poland, because as one of few countries in Europe, it has scale and capacity to satisfy the additional food needs globally. Mr. President Gantner, Mr. President, we mentioned that 80% of our exports goes to EU markets. Of course, this is not an area which will keep growing all the time. So in what direction should we actually get oriented with our production and work? And we look for opportunities to sell? And what does it mean for this development of both raw material and processing sector? everywhere where they want to buy our products, but for them to want to buy our products, we have to be competitive. And current situation tells us not only quality-wise, but also price-wise, we must be competitive. Difference between being in European market and in third markets is that in the EU, the market is somehow protected. They bear huge costs resulting from various EU strategies, regulations, over-regulation, and in European market, practically everybody is bearing these costs. But when we go outside the EU market and we face economic areas which are not so over-regulated, who do not have Green Deal and thousands of various regulations causing very serious costs, and there, all of a sudden, we face a very simple concept. Great, excellent, you have perfect quality, but you know, the other ones are cheaper by $3. And, well, but these are the markets where we have confrontation with other areas. In which markets do we compete with those areas of the world which have economy less overregulated? Well, in China, for example, we are not absolutely alone. Even advisors will not help us if we are not competitive. Nobody will help us unless we build modern logistic systems to sell food. We have a lot of bottlenecks. We do not have modern stock exchanges, trading in products large scale. We don't have large selling platforms. We do not have tough logistics. All of a sudden it appears we could be exporting much more, but harbors, ports are not working here. We have vast potential. All the time we have a huge potential. We have to do two things, actually. Deregulate food economy. That means reduce costs of operation, both of farmers and processing companies, and system-wise change the environment surrounding food economy and focus it for competition. Time of the fat teddy bear who entered EU market is coming to an end, and not only because the following EU officials will overregulate us to death, but also for the same reason that the EU all of a sudden realized that without trading other areas, we will become the back trade of the world. Well, how to open up if at the beginning EU lifted up so much costs of food production, we cannot compete. And now this, moving on to Mr. Minister Miłosz Motyka, well, it results from European Green Deal, not only, but it's true. It's true. If somebody is talking of limitation for agricultural production today, actually in the title of the debate, it is clearly said it reduces our competitiveness, and it is contradiction because today, at the same time, we say safety, security first of all, security Europe. So how beautifully we move on to the fact that security is military security, well, arms industry, arms producing industry in Europe, everybody can see, but we do not talk of food security, energy security a little bit at the European forum, I'm saying, because the intense talks within our presidency are going on. But please believe me, I would like us to talk as much as about energy security, to be talking about food security more. Unfortunately, it must be said here, we talk about reducing agri-production. It is the same path which leads to the fact that today, like in the past we were reducing arms production, now we do not have what to defend us with. Like in the past we were getting ourselves dependent on Russia. Now let us reduce agri-production, let's strengthen regulations, so we will wake up in the same area as arms production or power sector. But don't we see, after experience from power sector, when Europe ran short of gas, that we cannot be so much dependent? The second lesson is that, of course, if we run short of food, we will have to be looking for it globally. Yes, we see it, but you cannot, as a rule, because this is what it is reduced. You cannot expect other effects from people we elect. If somebody says, yes, we have to reduce food production, so I tell that person, eat less, start from yourself. If that person is actually approved with this trend, but somebody is deciding at the level of European Parliament, European Council and governments, there is a reverse trend today, but is it thanks to political pressure or bottom-up pressure? I think that bottom-up pressure must also influence the politicians. Therefore, changes happened regarding European Green Deal for agriculture. For power sector, they are deeper and at least return to the fact that the EU is finally, at last, talking substantially about supporting investment in nuclear energy, both the big and small one, and they say these technologies has to be built in Europe and not just imported from China. Yes, good, because in agriculture there are people wiser than myself, so may it sound so loud in agriculture as in power sector. So as we talk about the fact that our simple reserves from the moment of accession to the EU have been depleted, we can see it at the side of prices of agri-raw materials. Price of milk over the recent months, it was higher than the average in the EU. Prices of cereals or maize or oil-producing plants are going up. So which regulations, President Gantner mentioned, are most painful today for food industry and food business? And let's try to discuss this and look for the most cost-consuming points where one should change the regulations, which we all mentioned as being over-regulated. Mr. Jacek Strzelecki and second Mr. Regulated. Well, first, I'm glad that you are criticizing excessive regulations. So plans for deregulation, I hope that it will all happen, and it will happen in very important for production of food, that in Poland an appropriate pro-business solution will be implemented in extended responsibility of producers, because proposals we have so far show that we are going in the other direction than the rest of Western Europe. I will not dwell on it because Andrzej Gantner is a specialist in it. He may tell us about it. But the second thing, how to improve our competitiveness? Some solutions are pretty simple. Firstly, let us reduce price of electricity, of energy. Already reduction by 5% will improve our competitive capacity. This is a simple solution. We do not need to create new regulations. Period. Let us reduce this, what is influencing costs of the company. That's enough. Which components, Mr. Minister, are most greatest burden on prices of energy? The fact that we have energy based on high emission sources, and unfortunately the fact that we have economy based on coal. Today, excavation of coal in Poland, tough data. Of course, you can argue them. You can always say that 2 is more than 6. However, excavation of coal in Poland is twice as expensive than its importation from other countries. And it's not my thesis. It is decisions of power companies from the recent years. Results? Well, please come to Gdynia. They are on the embankment and in the port. So now the fact that power companies are not so impulsive, so reactive regarding certain regulations, it results from the fact that they have the burden of those assets. Well, we can say it is derivative because the clue is European regulations. Okay, but this is the reality we are living in. ETS system, it's one thing. The second are still costs of generation production of this energy. And yet another thing, things from the past, lack of appropriate balancing energy in Poland, because we do not have such a problem with transfer. These investment in the grid, recent program 4 billion, and deregulation in power sector, the law number 84. I also count upon good proposals from the sector regarding biogas, biomethane. It is all happening, but we have a problem with storage energy in Poland. It's enough to look at the exchange and the prices when we are using energy and when it is cheapest and how to balance it. But this is unfortunately a question of time. Investment in energy storage, X-billion level are going on, and they lead from small to large-scale ones, but it will demand time. As a rule, economy will verify practice, and out of this transformation carried out in a just way, utilizing simple sources, we will not go away. In our conditions, which energy sources are those which will guarantee cheaper electricity for us? Various issues. On the one hand, renewable energy is cheapest but unstable, and it works only at certain times. Therefore, it must be stabilized by energy storage. Energy agency is presenting this data. It's enough to look in them. Without microphone, I don't hear anything. I cannot translate. Well, we can only laugh at the fact that there will be an opportunity to relate to it. Congratulations. In 2015, I heard the same from ministers of energy at that time. Cheapest is from energy. We will lead to having more coal. It will be cheaper. Do we have it cheapest? We have it cheapest. Yeah, we don't have it cheapest. So perhaps we don't have it. Yes, in a moment we will meet downstairs here and we'll be talking. So therefore we have to invest in nuclear sources, in stability, and renewable sources and energy storage. But where is it most expensive in Europe and where is it cheapest? Let me revert the question. The cheapest electricity is in France with the highest share of nuclear energy. In Poland, our energy is most expensive. It is a problem, painful for everybody. So therefore, we want to possibly as soon as to reduce the cost, because it ended for us what President of Polmlek said, and Mr. Bujoczek said, normal possibilities of competitive level came to an end here. The costs are too big. But what does it result from? Well, we have most expensive energy. What does it result? Yes. Well, so for you, madam, it is way out. Yes, we over these 20 years we won that we had cheap raw materials from us, from agri-producers, but this time has come to an end. First thing, cost of labor also come to an end. In agriculture, yes, I'm talking because agriculture is also business, roughly the same as processing business. We are just in a different place, but without us, processing will not exist. And the first thing, why food security, what is being discussed? Because generation born in the recent decade believe that all shops were full and will be full. I come from generation when shops were not full, and many participants in this audience come from the same generation, but it is not given forever that the shops will be full. And food security, well, the world says that demand for food will be there, so what has to be done? We are talking of costs for processing plants, and also costs for us have to be mentioned, because today we will not win by price of selling. We must reduce costs in order to be competitive globally and to be making good product. And what are the costs? Energy, like in processing plants, and the cost of energy actually are related to costs of fertilizers, and they have to be treated as strategic plants today, which facing strategy, food strategy, we also need, the second thing, let us introduce eco schemes, and those subsidies, various subsidies which have been there. I am an agri-producer, and I'm very glad when I get money to my bank account for difference in cereal prices and so on, but it doesn't give me future. I will spend it because there are lots of needs there, but why today here a very important topic was mentioned, water, basic thing which will be limiting us today in agricultural production. 1% of humus in soil, it's 150,000 liters of water on hectare. What are we doing to increase the humus content? The eco schemes are not only to be taken and to be happy that everybody took them, but they must be eco schemes such which act as incentive to improve the humus and in animal production, reducing emissiveness because the manure prism can be covered and pay for this, and then we will have lower carbon footprint, and otherwise processing will be able to sell it because it will not be with red light. Looking at competitiveness, we have to keep in mind that if criteria are made tougher regarding plant protection, means they also result in many products. I'm addressing Dr. Rzodkiewicz with this question. They will cause, on the one hand, increased raw material costs, and on the other hand, if this trend is not reverted, that we will practically have no chance to protect these rights, which may influence quantity on one hand and quality of our products on the other hand. Thank you for raising this theme, because there is also a certain strong element which can be our positive aspect in competitiveness, namely new technologies, innovativeness. We have very well-educated farmers. We have strong universities, natural universities, and we have agricultural consultancy centers. For example, strength of Polish meat sector in, for example, production of beef resulted in the fact that we are currently one of few countries who introduced automatic classification of beef carcasses. It is based on AI carried out by our inspection last year. First device like this was introduced, and it reduces costs for the slaughterhouse, but also introduces certain justice and transparency for trading relations, because if we have human factor, doubts arise. We are one of the countries which implemented the solution, and the followers are getting ready to introduce such innovations. Responding to demands of contemporary times, we are struggling with crisis, with water crisis and floods, and here we also need a response to this. One of the solutions may be new technologies, genome technologies, which are also utilizing our experience. Our scientific centers may allow to obtain such varieties of plants which will, for our atmospheric and soil conditions, will be causing increased competitiveness. So this is for Polish presidency to carry out this procedure in the EU. Here I must admit that we have a success because we managed to achieve consensus, and the legislative procedure went a step forward, and trilogues will be implemented. That means coordinations at the level of Council and the European Commission to proceed this project. This is an important element. Viktor Szmulewicz mentioned that farmers also bear additional costs resulting also from regulations related to European Green Deal. And today, just a moment, let me finish the question, because you may refer to it. How do you gentlemen see the possibility to guarantee it from raw material side in Poland, facing the environmental challenges? Because the topic of our debate is competitiveness of food economy facing environmental challenges. So shall we have enough raw material, which on the one hand was basis for processing plants to be able to, after investment, to develop strongly, and in which area do you see threats where the raw material base may be a threat for developing a business? And in this context, in a moment, I would like us to talk about water management, taking the opportunity of Mr. Minister being here. So let me add something to my thought, because time flying. Power sector in the country. Renewable sources. No, generation of energy in our farms reduces my costs. What are we doing about production of energy? Huge global corporations are establishing huge wind farms. Where are the power cooperatives at the level of municipalities? What have we done by financial encouragement and advice? But this is also a very important thing, share of farmers in generation of energy. But let's go back to the raw material base. Do we see any threats, and where should we take it? Threat is, in most cases, that if production and processing will become non-profitable, because neither farmers nor processing plants, how should they produce if costs are higher than the generated revenue? But we should probably come out of the box we are in. So we see all these individual threats, but we do not know what to do about them. I have been in this sector for almost 30 years, and what I can see for 10 years, I have the impression that somebody in the EU decided to make an economic harakiri, or seppuku, simply a suicide. Every year, every regulation, Green Deal, and Green Deal is not only agriculture. Green Deal covers the whole EU economy. Processing plants, packaging producers, thousands of things, even do like the caps on plastic bottles fixed to the bottle. No, this is Green Deal. We as drink sector spend hundreds of millions zlotys, and milk too, for no good reason at all. So perhaps somebody might think, whom are we to talk with? I was at the deregulation committee, and somebody rightly noticed that how should we talk with the same people about deregulation if in the other room they make another regulation? What is the point of all that? Well, the point is to have something to do. No, either everybody together, the farmers showed it. I do bow to them that farmers were able to come out and say, period, end of this. These are idiotic regulations. They lead to nothing good. They will not change anything. They will only result in the fact that we will stop being competitive. And the truth is simple. Without competitive agriculture, there is no competitive processing of food, period. And now, this is the time. Look what is happening. Bureaucrats all of a sudden notice that it is not good. They mainly noticed it when German automotive companies started shouting that they stopped being competitive because price of energy killed them and Chinese are cheaper. They noted it, so now they start inventing various fine initiatives. So clean industry deal, getting to climate requirements, but using rational methods. The rational word sounds different in the mouth of politicians, entrepreneurs, farmers. We are more rational. So they invented that hundreds and thousands of companies will not have to report hundreds of thousands idiotic factors because it costs. All of a sudden they discovered the cost of which ones we will not have to report. ESG, famous ESG, which has become religion. All of a sudden some people noted that it doesn't work. Mr. Pawiński, president of the largest Polish food company, Central European Corporation, told a very simple truth. Instead of spending millions of zlotys for those idiotic bureaucratic reports, allow me to invest and gain new markets. This is a rational approach. Thank you very much. And one very important thing, and this is an appeal to everybody. It must not be like it has been so far, that somebody is proposing regulation, yet another regulation, but is not attaching to it analysis how it will influence farmers and processing plants, and how will it influence competitiveness. This does not exist, not at EU level and not at Polish level. In reality, it must end very quickly, because in a few years' time we will sit here together, everybody, and we will consider how it happened, what has happened that we lost competition with all all possible areas, economic areas globally. And we may say that today we are in the peak form and we don't want to lose it. In good marketing, we say, if it is good, you have to start worrying. Mr. Szymon Borucki, I wanted to ask about the raw material question. Well, so you are calling Szymon. To say how he sees it from the perspective of milk and guarantee of raw material aspect, because I would like to close this topic. So maybe let me finish the topic of ASG based on the example more. We in the second generation, myself and Adam, we have been delegated to take care of this subject, and I had an opportunity getting to know it from within, and on Monday a European directive was issued to extend the further reporting. But when I started reading it, it is vast work, 1,600 indicators from which every sector must select indicators according to their own decision, and all that has to be audited by the financial auditor, the same who is auditing financial report. Well, what cost does it generate? We started looking at it, how to organize it, because it is loads of information which have to be gathered, analyzed, and in every business unit through purchasing, trade, business, you have to delegate people in every plant. We have 15 of them to collect and analyze the data, and then additionally to get support from experts. Only doing that, only for aggregation of and collection of data. In a moment we hear that farmers will have to do this with their emission. Yes, because it is a chain. A large company will not make a good ESG report, the company who will stay in ESG, because for doing non-diligent, huge penalties if it is not going downwards. And our supply chains start from farmers. But Andrzej, actually also in our agri-production, through the fact that I will be making reports, the food will not be better quality. And today I go to the field with a sprinkler, I send a sign that I came out, well, I don't have time to think with a situation like one person from Podkarpacie said he has 100 signals and 200 plots. He must send signal that he went into the field. If he doesn't, they will take subsidies from him. Where does it come from? From bureaucracy, excessive bureaucracy. We discuss the extension of mechanism of power, mechanism which guarantees energy security for our coal-based units. Whether we like it or not, it's a priority. We go to Brussels, we discuss in DG Comp, DG Ener, coal units. They didn't see them. Oh, you still have coal in Poland. Look how much is in Gdynia. You yourselves imported it from Russia. Interesting, from 2014, 15, 17, it paid to import coal from Russia rather than produce it in Poland. But, well, the market extended, the law extended, it goes into force for 29, 30, but by the way, you see, it doesn't build trust in you. And they say, yes, of course, we get a backlash. No, you get in the first shot, you're not building trust for EU institutions, which as a rule were there in order to give flexibility for production. European Community of Coal and Steel and so on, they were based on freedom in economy, not on regulations. And they say, well, somebody approached us, ESG is not our idea, it's not invented by the idea. The client, the consumer wants to have green energy, green product, and only then they want to decide. But can't you do it on voluntary basis? Must it all be forced? And here are political decisions, because the fact that somebody wants this reporting, wants green energy, green products, should have this choice. And isn't a statement enough? Yes, definitely yes. And about the regulation, we are already doing it in the whole series of applications today. The connection, we are going away from the obligation, we go to a statement. Of course, it will be later building trust to you, and later inspections will be showing incorrectnesses, because we cannot treat everybody as as cheaters, but I agree, and here we have, this is the critical point. Unfortunately, bureaucracy decided that everything must be forced. ESG must be forced. All that must be regulated. It must not be on incentives. So European Green Deal must be based on the fact that somebody wants with green energy, with green production to have it, let them compete. Mr. Minister, but these decisions, yes, the nearest, but Mr. President, yes, but today I must poke in. So if today I, from the plants I get for my raw material, when I prove I have everything, they will verify it, then they will, with financial incentives, but will they be able to sell it more expensively in a moment? Yes, for sure they will, because they will have a certificate for this. So I have a specific proposal to what Mr. Minister said, practically two proposals, very simple, down-to-earth proposals. The first one regarding legislation, which we have enemy legislation towards agri-production, and the state is getting worse and worse every year. One of pathological solutions in Polish law is that the appeal college upon pseudo-ecological association can actually explode a rightful decision of Polish waters, of Directorate of Environmental Protection, and investment of a farmer is suspended for minimum a year. Money, huge money is suspended. Nobody is doing this. We have been talking about it for years. So already today I can give you a draft of law which will shorten this pathological procedure regarding the appeal colleges, and now the public interest, when we wanted to introduce it only in energy sector connections, so that farmer or entrepreneur could have a quick path. It already raised problems and raised constitutional doubts and legal doubts, but what I told you as a lawyer, because I am a lawyer, it is not breaking any constitution, it is bringing order, and as a body who do not have legal competences nor subject matter competence, because in the appeal colleges there are not experts for water or environment, no, clerks, chosen people, and they explode the rightful administrative decision. So how to get, this is the problem. And another thing, but Mr. President, yes, Mr. Moderator, so yes, but one more thing, because I think that what Wiktor said, first of all, you want to help, no problem. Give us an opportunity. Let us join eco schemes for beef breeders as eco scheme regarding ESG. Not only breeders of beef, but also, for example, and as a result, we have 3.2 million hectares of meadows. We are using only 1.6 million. So it's enough. One solution like this, and production of beef or other animal production will simply start. Well, there is no better time, if we talk about the regulation, to introduce this idea. I understand that the committee of the regulation, well, Mr. Minister, number of papers we filed as an enterprise is the size of an encyclopedia, and it is related to many years. Mr. Jacek, Strzelecki, what we are doing worst in our country, we are doing it to ourselves. Legislation, EU legislation is EU legislation. There are resolutions which work directly, but there are also directives, and we implement those directives to legal order. And honestly speaking, I completely do not understand a situation where we as a country implementing stipulations of the directive, we do it in such a way that it is much worse than what is demanded of us by the directive. We impose much greater obligations on ourselves. Why are we doing it? I don't know. I must give you an example. Ladies and gentlemen, deregulation, directive, waste directive, Green Deal, packaging for food. The EU tells us we have to introduce extended responsibility of the producer. Everybody have, okay, we also have to. But why to hell current Polish government and current Minister of Environment proposes us the worst and most expensive and most nonsense concept you can imagine? Why? why we have proposed to have an idiotic tax on packaging, which will have no translation on efficiency of the system, but it will increase the price of food. Why are we doing this? Nobody demands it from us. Well, thank you. So a simple question to Mr. Minister. Why are we doing it? I guess because Professor Gantner must only make an appointment with Madam Minister and talk to her. Well, when she sees me, she runs away. So you will come to me, Mr. Minister. 37 organizations, sectoral organizations are fighting for it. Well, gentlemen, let us tell Mr. Minister, yes, because there are sectors somebody is responsible for, and at least regarding components, not by a dot, and it was at the level, implemented at the level of our ministry. There is no possibility for the directive to be narrower, so that we make the regulations narrower than the directive, to go further. Sensitive topic. We did simple implementation, actually, with the National Chamber of Biofuels, coordinated. So in this respect, we can be discussing. Simply, I am not involved in it. Biofuels and renewable energy is more simple. The same is with 203. This is a threat, because in some, paradoxically, in some places it is an opportunity for the system. Wiktor Szmulewicz is mentioning. We will move on to it in a moment. I agree, it is legislative practice, but in our departments, in our ministries, not by a dot more towards European regulations we will not go, and we are not going in, and several of them we have already implemented. These are legislative practices. So one question, whether in current situation when you are meeting other ministers of environmental protection in Brussels, whether facing discussion on improvement of competitiveness of the European economy, because we can see what is happening, we can see the threat from from the US on automotive sector, at least. We hear about various customs fees. If it appears that Europe will not be possible to export to third countries, it will be getting crowded in Europe. And when we export our products, we will have to do something for somebody to buy it. Well, there is a change in several aspects. In energy questions, at last it exists. Finally, we are coming back to the fact that ETS2 system may be extended. Okay, so far it has not been on the table yet. And the second thing is nuclear energy. The third thing is nuclear communities, because our system was based on large power companies who were focused on their profits and were not interested in farmers at all, for sure. And it is in regulatory scope which will be loosened in future, and entities will be actually settled in law. It will have to be notified. And finally, we understand that commercial war serves no good to anybody. So the question when this understanding will be translated to specific decisions, I can say faster. It is visible faster. Oh, it is easier to switch off something rather than switch it on again. But if you switch something off, then you do not switch it on. So in power sector, we are focusing on it, and I guess in agriculture it is similar. But for future, regarding what the EU is going on with opportunity for agriculture, is deconcentration, not only decentralization of power system, but it's deconcentration, creating this. Yes, two systems can act parallelly. OSD system can be operating, and local community power system, where you are not paying distribution and transfer fee, quality fee, the power fee, which is sometimes maintaining a system which is economically not. Well, do you hear what you say? Fee, who has to work for? But they are until now in every bill for electricity. Well, you are talking of museum power sector. We are not coping with for years. Well, a moment, we are at Polish Agricultural Forum. So if you talk to presidents of Polish power networks at a longer debate, they will explain it to you. But please note that you are talking to this minister who reduced the power fee down to zero. And we are glad to hear that. But gentlemen, about water, we will be talking in a moment. But I promised the audience the possibility. I wouldn't like to take the microphone from Mr. President. Some 3-4 opinions from the audience. Here is the first one, the second, third, the fourth opinion, but I don't know who of the ladies, one of the ladies. We remember we are talking of competitiveness of Polish food sector, and please make brief comments, brief inputs, staying in the food. Can I get it in hand? No. My experience says that certain things should not go in. Adam Serak, today I'll ask because one of the main leaders here, Mr. Sawicki, minister, about biogas plants. This topic was not mentioned. Is this topic being launched at the ministry? My second question is regarding wind farms. It must be reduced down to 500 meters. Will it be related to towns? Because many villages got city rights. All of them will want to get city rights to avoid 500 meters. And what about Niwistka, our reservoir plant here, which was to be a natural battery, which will be receiving this energy from wind farms? And my last question regarding whether we will have deputy minister or minister from Podkarpackie region, because out of 140 ministers, there is none from our region of 2 million people. So thank you very much. May I answer? 500 meters is related to all territories, all. But at the end, there must always be the resolution by municipality council decision if the municipality do not give a permit. And regarding first question, biogas, biomethane, let's leave this topic because I would like to discuss it with everybody. Władysław Brejta, I come from Podkarpackie region, from the south, from mountain regions, and I run a large farm, being part of the Institute of Zootechnology. I have lots of negative comments regarding what is happening, but I will say something positive. We are a self-sufficient farm from energy perspective. We have excess of heat and electrical energy, but we were thinking about it 10 years ago, not now. What the decisions which we made 10 years ago are now actually productive. But regarding proposals for now, let me only say the following, that if those proposals are coming through, it is wasting public money. Which proposals do you think? Subsidy to biogas plants, small biogas plants, and what are you doing with surplus of energy from your farm? We are selling, it is half a megawatt biogas plant, about 20% used by the farm. The biogas plant, 80% of the surplus we sell, we use the heat in the farm. As I said, 10 years ago we were thinking about it when energy was very cheap. What one of you gentlemen said, when everything is going well, you have to start thinking about it possibly going wrong in future. Thank you for your input. Good morning, Andrzej, Chairman of Council of Foundation for Development of Polish Agriculture in DPA. I wanted to focus your attention at two elements. Firstly, it was mentioned here that simple reserves got depleted. We have to remove barriers, systemic barriers, which are blocking development of Polish agriculture, and such a barrier is fictitious rental, which is a mass common phenomenon blocking development of agriculture. We have to take care of this topic, and there are for sure solutions which will help that this fictitious aspect is remaining. The agreements on mouth results from the fact that owner prefers to get the subsidy from the agency as rent. So let's introduce a guarantee fund which will provide the owners that they will get the rental fee on time and on users. We can actually execute money like from alimony funds. And do not use the term Green Deal. Do not make it a devil destroying the world. Let's base on substantial details. Listening to this debate, I have the impression that there are no climate changes, that the environment is doing perfectly well. The limitations which are being introduced introduced is an attempt at finding balance between production and environmental protection. So do not let us blow on it, but let us consider what we need and let us introduce it consequently, because here we have the following phenomenon: privatization, benefits, and making environmental costs common. Do not let us lead to such a situation. Packagings, which were mentioned here, I'm living near Warsaw in a forest. I cannot walk avoiding tripping on such packagings. I would like us to have a system not allowing this to happen. Please make shorter inputs. Jacek, a farmer. I wanted to wrap up this forum, summarize this forum. Competitiveness is, first of all, national processing industry and national trade, which we as farmers have no access to. Farmers in Poland are actually gamblers, destroyed by Polish regulations, too strong Polish zloty, and many other things. President Trump said that the greatest threat for Europe are European politicians, and I guess we all agree with it. Yet another time I wanted to ask a question: why? You are poisoning us with contaminated food from Ukraine, growing on unburied bones of our compatriots, and nobody is doing anything about it. We have become actually a servant to Ukraine. This contaminated product keeps going to Poland all the time. Thank you. Well, madam. My name is Adela Japińska. I am a farmer, and first of all, I am from Confederation. And Mr. Minister today was saying, don't reveal your political colors. So Mr. Minister mentioned that energy from renewable energy sources is cheapest, but the problem is that it is unstable. So actually, the fact that it is unstable makes renewable energy twice more expensive than energy from coal. And my second question: candidates for president today very often talk of energy security. How do you want to make energy security based on renewables? For energy security, it must be stable, and stable energy is only and solely from coal or from nuclear energy. Thank you. One sentence, not one sentence. No. Rules are the same for everybody. Microphone stays in my hand. Will you let 1,000 farmers say something? Will you only be introducing the great ones? Which product is missing in Poland that we are dangerous food-wise? We have overproduction, and don't shit with such things. Yes, everybody goes food security. What is missing? And don't fuck up. And now specifically, Mr. Motyka. Page 43 of this bulletin. Have a look at it. Second paragraph from the top. But don't silence me. Don't say me sucker. So maybe it will be easier to understand you. So let me tell you, you have 3 days time for a meeting of Minister Siekierski with Minister of Environmental Protection for all these nonsenses to be clarified regarding water eco schemes, and this is included in second paragraph in page 43, what Minister Siekierski included here, and this is a demand. Do it. Otherwise we get to Tusk and go out. Practically, briefly, one sentence each. Can you speak a bit quieter? Everybody will hear. So I will talk more quietly. Adam Grad, Krishna Biogas. So following biogas and biomethane plants, I wanted to ask briefly, taking into account the biogas plants are the source which can best utilize connection allocated and for Polish industry to have share in Polish government. Many times we see here from Ministry of Agriculture questions making it possible for biogas plants to enter the grid, and some questions which would give real grounding both energy-wise as well as from the national interest and Polish agriculture to have real possibilities for biogas plants to be made and not compete with Western capital blocking Polish grid. And let's agree, our terms which have been introduced are not profitable. This is not the solution enabling saving Polish biogas, and something must be done for this network to be able to be receiving Polish farmers. And I wanted to ask about the state of work in this respect. I have only two sentences, taking into account now Ministry of Agriculture, but please introduce Małgorzata Dziubek, Ministry of Agriculture, Ministry of Climate, and all the current government. You are plowing Poland, farmers, miners, all entrepreneurs. You are trying to plow the whole country for Germany. On the 18th of May, all farmers, all entrepreneurs who want safe country and safe Poland should make a good choice and choose Confederation. Now I see. We agreed we are not declaring our political colors, but I understand that we did not succeed. Please draw your conclusions in Jasionka. We always discussed, we always had open discussion, but it doesn't mean who shouts loudest is right and will be heard. So let's draw conclusions. But but I wanted to answer about biogas plant, because at what stage the work is. So now let's discuss renewable energy, not only in rural areas, but also in processing plants, which may be the way to reduce costs of the given plant, but also of specific regions, and what solutions we need to get to this. Mr. Moderator, I can calm down about food security in just one sentence. One sentence about, yes, addressing everybody. I wanted to tell you, Polish farmers and processing plants, we are those entities who on everyday basis annually provide food security. We do not need to care about it because we have it provided. However, Jacek, in several countries we lost. Pork is an example. We are producing 40%. I agree. So what shall we do? What are we doing? What is the program for reconstruction of production of pigs? Yes, exactly. Here you are completely right. Most welcome. So putting it differently, we are producing enough food for us, and we have a surplus which we locate in third markets without the risk that there will be no availability. So now Inspector and then Mr. Minister. Food security, fake news were heard. Food introduced into Polish market must be absolutely safe. On the borders there are 4 inspectors controlling our commercial inspectorate, but also veterinary and Biorin, and every part of delivered to Polish market is controlled, and if it doesn't fulfill the quality requirements, must not be included in trading. Those who make these attempts get administrative sanctions. Production of electric current from renewable energy, especially biogas plants, this is a burning problem, and network narrow bottleneck results from this. Blocked capacity, already issued connection terms where you cannot apply to be connected. Regarding biogas plants, this law will be regulating it. If somebody within specific time will not be making this investment, they will lose the connection terms. They will be able to buy at an auction, which they will be applying for connection only on these investments which are to be implemented. And at the end of the day, it is bringing the system down to what President Szmulewicz mentioned, giant changes regarding our market of energy, where at the end economy decides finally, and where actually bringing it down to balance at local level will be absolutely of key importance. So this will probably bring later, because you have to analyze it. We are talking about the results, that we are short of results of evaluating these activities, that there will be some competition between even rural areas. But I understand that this is a direction which also the side of farmers is choosing, and the state will definitely be supporting it, because maintaining the state which is today is not fully economically fair for everybody. But today, potential of production of renewable energy in agriculture, in processing plants, taking into account the area of roofs and very poor soils for photovoltaics, but also biogas plants, not only for our own needs, but also for selling electricity to the grid, would give greater opportunities. Are we able to do it? Well, we are doing it. Both the EU and a little bit at Dotson is regulating what they regulated in the past regarding first stiffening the regulations, so now they will be making it flexible. So renewables give this chance that environmental and investment procedures can be done faster, and where the indicator is higher today, there you will be able to apply for establishing a biogas plant, thanks to which it will be cheaper. Areas for development of renewables, this good part, because it will be related to post-industrial areas where without unnecessary environmental procedures you will be able to apply for the investment, so give a guarantee that it will be faster. But here, not the minister will be deciding about appointing this area, but the municipality, and I hope that the appeal college will be, but you know that it is enough. 3 people will establish an association, and investment in biogas plant will not happen. No, this is the paradox, which fortunately I'm saying about flexibility of regulations, which have been too stiff so far, unfortunately, and this is this opportunity. Mr. Szymon Borucki, and in a moment Mr. Andrzej Gantner. So if we are talking of Green Deal, I wanted to return to the question or the input presented by one of the gentlemen from the audience. I don't remember the name, sorry, about the fact that we should not be making Green Deal as the black swan for the whole economy. And okay, I agree that everybody who live these days and are 30, 40 years old realize what winters looked like, say 20, 40 years ago. The climate is changing, but changes which will be happening in the economy must be economically grounded. We can see it today. We, in our 4 plants already, have biogas plants, and Lizba Warmiński, our Glaters plant, has its own biogas plant and 6 cogeneration systems. One of those systems is generating cold because we had too much heat. How many % energy you are able to provide, which you need from own sources, up to 80%, depending on the amount of substrates we have to work on already today. And regarding water, because we were to touch on this subject, but now only about renewable energy, Mr. Andrzej Gantner, and so very briefly, processing is a vast area where you can actually generate vast amounts of energy, and looking at average size, average or large plant, where it is first flexible and then stiff. It's not this sector, but anyway, with good legal surrounding and stable conditions, majority of plants are able to invest in renewable energy sources, and what's more, they are able to provide raw material for our own biogas plants, what we are struggling for, because quite a lot of post-production waste, which they cannot be used in biogas plants further on. Why? We don't know. Maybe somebody is against it, or maybe we don't know what, but it could be changed very quickly. And one other very important thing, every farmer or every processing plant introducing changes, whatever, is building a pigsty or a big biogas plant. It's a business decision. It must be profitable. It must have a return on investment. It must not be so that 3 or 4 years later another commissioner will come and say, no, now we are making everything more stiff and everybody who invested in it are losers. So the question whether today investment in processing plants are going on, yes, by all means, we have plants reaching real fantastic results, plus plants which every new investment, every new plant is focused on being possibly most self-sufficient energy-wise. This is going on. I think we have to touch on one more theme in this debate, because initially you all said that people are most important. We know that in Poland we have very big demographic problems. You have to note that in a few years' time it will be getting deeper. On the other hand, everybody in the society, we want to live at a higher level, so costs of labor are increasing in many plants, and of course here, not only in plants, in agriculture, also everywhere, because if average gross for the last quarter is 8.4 thousand or 8.6 thousand zlotys, so all other pay indicators go up, and the question how to manage here and what does it mean for processing plants and for our competitors. Well, Wiktor and I talked many a time about this example of pork. ASF in Poland, we have a very bad situation. Only a narrow strip in the center of Poland is free from ASF. West and east are lost zones. What results from ASF? That in pork plants, production in breeding and in processing is closed. And at the same time you aim at automation, because we know that man is the weakest link in this whole chain. And therefore, if you look at the 10 years of ASF being present in Poland, then you will see how the structure of employment is changing. It is lower and lower, and not because we are producing little, but simply greater and greater requirements. Biosecurity procedures look for solution to eliminate human being at work and in breeding pigs. Employee, just to avoid having a human being, because the human being is the weakest link in the whole chain. And as a result, production of pork, and it is not related to Poland only, all countries having ASF. So in China it is highly visible. There is high automation there, and this automation goes to us, and unless we bring order with ASF, so probably in pork we will have high level of automation in all the chain, starting from breeding up to processing, and you will almost see no man there. Just a moment, but about ASF, so I want to continue, yes, may I poke in, because later we will not be discussing it, but look, ASF is in wild boar. It is very difficult to get removed. So after these 11 years there should be no boars in Poland, and they exist, so the program has to be changed. And now regarding wild boar, we will be back with Mr. Minister, but I would like Mr. Szymon Borucki to have a chance to say how the factors related to availability of human labor and its costs influence the dairy production plants. Clearly, as we established initially, the cost prevalence in Poland are disappearing. We are becoming equal to the West, which is good for the society, but it creates problems with competitiveness. Increase of labor costs exerts pressure on processing plants, and I think everybody in our sector today, if we are considering further investments, often we are not considering considering the physical cost thereof, but how many jobs we will save by such an investment. To what extent we can automate the process and make it still more secure and repetitive. Similar phenomenon we have in concentration of farms in agriculture, where productivity per person must be growing because these are requirements of the time. And an example, let me give you an example of Lidzbark-Warmiński plant processing the proteins from whey for 100 million liters of whey being processed, and 2 or 3 people are operating it per shift. Well, the costs are very important. It's logical. Cost of labor definitely influence the financial result. But ladies and gentlemen, let's consider one thing. For processing plant to be able to pay 4,500 gross to somebody, I don't know the minimum. The minimum is 566. So how much does the plant have to spend actually? Almost 9,000 zlotys. This is what it costs altogether. Of course, the employee doesn't see it, but the accountant can see it, and those who set up bills. So a simple question arises: if in this system increasing minimum pay constantly is the right way, or maybe it is worth just taking down some of the burden from plants and giving it back to people. Like a classic opinion, you do not need to give us, just simply stop taking away from us. So wild boar, because in the context of meat industry is very important. The whole problem of solving the damage, reducing population is something natural and it should be functioning. But, Mr. Minister, if this disease is so tough, so infectious, and then the wild boar should be eliminated by ASF without your guns. Well, you know what I mean. But control of population is extremely significant, and especially, well, regarding wolves, somebody said it, that's true, and therefore, an European forum regulations have been changed, making it more flexible. Poland voted for reducing the level of protection. I was signing this decision personally, and Polish opinion was decisive here. So about the EU decisions, yes, they also can have positive influence. Now we count upon that to be introduced in regulations domestically, because it is a real problem. Gentlemen, we are gradually coming to the end of our debate, so I would like us to... we were to talk about water, so the last point about water, which is extremely important. How, in this moment, but one sentence, please, what idea we have to improve retention in Poland and to simply have more water available, and what should we start from? Because yesterday, after the discussion, I had the impression that everybody everybody was talking how important it was, but they don't know. So we would like to find answer today how to do it. 2 basic elements is humus content in soil and various eco schemes, and they go there where content of humus is increased in soil. The second, small retention. Reservoirs are important, but not that much, because stopping water, making steps on small waterways and stopping possibly greatest amount, because this increases water level, it actually permeates and it stays there. We have various things, but we do not have small retention. But is it a task for local governments? It is a task for us all. It is a task for us all, because what should we start from? It is a task for us all, because it is not about us only. The whole industry will have a problem with water, because it's not only for agricultural production. generation and power plants, water cooling. There was already a time when we had low level. Yesterday we were complaining about our debate that was not substantial. So what to be done? Money has to be found for so-called small retention. Victor, this money is available. This money is. What money is available? I will tell you in a moment. But I will tell you where the money is. Andrzej, I'm supporting you. Wait, give him. I want to catch water from the roof. I must get approval to build a 2,000-liter reservoir under the roof. So maybe I'll tell you. Maybe you don't remember. 2016 in Poland, water law was introduced. So common tax on water was introduced for entrepreneurs and for each of you. Every drop of water in this country is subject to taxation. This tax was allocated to build a retention system and to counteract drought. Beautiful state. Who is managing this money? Beautiful company. Polish Waters was established, and since then, since 2016, everybody, we all have paid billions of zlotys for the fund of this company. It was to be for your retention, for preventing drought and so on. Where is it? Where is this? Mr. Minister, as representatives of government, where is it? Well, in 2016, I understand. It is, no. Well, for water, the former government, because if you're asking a question, I guess you ask a question to hear the answer, unless you want just to shoot. As a rule, later the roles may be reverted and somebody may be drinking Sprite and other person can... Well, in Poland we have several problems. Approvals, either we approach this topic in a serious way and we consider it to be a strategic question and we will be able to do it without approvals, and it will take years. And I think means are smaller problems than procedures and applications we can have to go through. Minister of Environment is not dealing with water. In this country, Minister of Environment is dealing with climate, and Minister of Infrastructure is dealing with water. This is a paradox introduced, unfortunately, not by us, and I think in future this should be changed. The funds exist, but I think the topic of water in the nearest future should get much more attention in meetings with specific solutions, because we are watching what is happening, and already today we can see what the results of shortage of water in the fields are. So in the context of food security, dry years happen to be almost every odd year in Poland. So let me say something positive, because here we heard. I want to assure you that meat sector is well prepared for trading water and does the utmost not to waste even a drop of water. We almost have a closed system in water management, because they know how much water costs and they simply know that the water is in short supply. And well, Mr. Minister, don't take it personally, but when you say something was not introduced by you and now you are ruling and it has to be changed, I'm glad that you are saying this, but I would like to hear when you will change it. When will you change it? Because it is important for us entrepreneurs. We have to know. We know problems, what they look like, but we want to know whether it will be changed until the end of the coming year, till mid this year. I don't know. Some deadline so that we can plan something, because running business in Poland is even not a lottery. It is simply state of high risk. Which aspect from energy you are asking? I'm not talking of power sector, I'm talking generally, because these are, these are things which you have diagnosed and that it has to be changed, and I would like to hear the time schedule of these changes. Well, probably now we will not hear this time schedule, because time is coming to an end, and I would like each of you to say one sentence what we need now, today, in order to, well, being in the good shape regarding competitiveness in the food industry. What we cannot skip or we must necessarily maintain, so that 5 years down the road we can say we made good use of the moment and we are on the good path. Starting from Mr. Jacek Strzelecki, let me say the following. I would very much like, I'm saying this as a lawyer, to remove from Polish law, and we have ideas prepared like this many a time we filed, to remove pathological legislative solutions which will actually ease the system. It will be more simple to operate, and this is the basic postulate. And the next thing is to strengthen our diplomatic activities in markets outside the EU, I mean economic diplomacy, so that our entrepreneurs who are going there independent from their specialty to be able to sell more even than they are doing now. Well, Szymon, let me perhaps in a slogan, but innovativeness, and once again innovativeness. As Poland has a great potential. We are not a peripheral country in the EU. We are already a player which counts, especially in agri-food sector, and we are to define and determine the routes. And I would quickly make, and this is more a task for Minister of Agriculture and Development of Agriculture, audit of competitiveness. I would grasp everything what increases production costs in a nonsense way, and it is not related to environment, which reduces our competitiveness and which does not allow our farmers to properly develop. And such an audit, such a white book should be made immediately, and only then we will be able to see how system-wise to change the environment for agriculture and processing, so that together we act well in the chain of food, rather than being on the chain, on the leash of politicians. We all have to take care of reliability of Polish agri-food production, and not to divide ourselves like for debates presenting various points of view, but together to build brand of Polish food. Let's skip over to Mr. Szmulewicz, and then Mr. Minister will have the last say. I agree. I don't know about Mr. Minister, so honorable ladies and gentlemen. Honorable ladies and gentlemen, I believe that there is a need to connect certain things, connecting processing with agri-production. And then processing plant, knowing their possibility of sales, should join forces with the producer through contracting agreements. This ability mentioned today, we today as agri-producers act as, I don't know, blindly. We are not producing for the needs of plants which would like raw material from us because they can sell it globally, but we produce and have a problem selling. Nobody is taking care of us, and legal relations are not solved between processing plant and producer of raw material. It's not everywhere. It is a situation in the dairy because actually cooperatives act very well. We are not beginning discussion. So if there is a lot, it doesn't mean it is good. And let us study globally, apart from all these troubles we have, which aim at improving environment, various climate, to check where we have opportunities. Because looking and saying those are bad, the other ones are bad, we have to close off from them, will not solve the matter in 5 to 10 years, because somebody else may come who will open up the barriers. And taking this legislative practice in our ministry, not only related to renewable energy sources, but other questions, the regulations for climate, it must be a question of this year. I understand you would like me to be responsible for each of these projects in legislative process in every ministry. I would like to aim at this, but such practice does not exist in Poland. But there is a hugely important thing, and in the national fund, and definitely we will focus on it. If we can do it with my electricity and electricity storage, which is in my scope of competence, and if we can do it with farmers to 4 big billions in question of water, I will also take it into account to have something substantial from this debate, so that we can implement it both in ENFOSH and other ministries, showing it in timeline, because there is not only climate for the regulation, but we are in the presidency, so we have still greater influence at the level of of European Council on European legislation. So, Mr. Minister, thank you very much. Well, ROP, please remember about a very good solution for us. Honorable ladies and gentlemen, big applause, thanking panelists, hot debate about competition of food production. I hope to maintain this competitiveness. We made a great progress so that we don't turn lazy, and that in 5 years' time we can say that we are strong and better. Well, Mr. Bujoczek can utilize any time available, and also economy 4.0. 2 panels are still ahead, but please stay with us for a moment, because let me invite Mr. Krzysztof Podhajski, President of European Foundation for Development of Polish rural areas, co-organizer of the 7th European Forum. Mr. President, welcome. The floor is yours. Honorable ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for participation in today's forum. And I would like to remind that there are still 4 panels ahead, so everybody interested are kindly invited to them. I would like to thank panelists and all guests, and also special thanks to our strategic partner,
firmy Polmlek i Krajowemu Ośrodkowi Wsparcia Rolnictwa.
The National Center for
do zobaczenia.
Agriculture. Thank you and hope to see you next year. Thanks to all media patrons and all institutions and hosts of this place. The Subcarpathian region, always hospitable. In the hall there is a fantastic display. Forces. I encourage you to see it. It's also an element of our heritage, so highly valuable exhibition. Yesterday it was at the top floor, and today it is at the ground floor. I wish you beautiful Easter holidays, love, peace and well-being, so that we enjoy what we already have. Thank you very much. And for